Okay, now we're going to be making the ruff for our tassel, which is this part between the skirt and the form and the cord. On the pink tassel, that is the alternative to this one, it's only around this joint right here. The motion is exactly the same as making a skirt, except that we're going to be working over a rod or a knitting needle. Now, the size of this will determine the size of your final product. So you just choose the size based on what you're going to be using it for. On this tassel, I used this one right here. Okay, so now for the purposes of this demonstration, I'm going to be using this fun wire, which I would never use on, well, I mean, you could use a 28 gauge, but I mean this particular one, it's very thick, and I wanted this bright color to so it would show up on the video. So I'm going to cut about 1.5 yards of this wire. Okay. This is actually what I usually use, either a 28 or a 32 gauge craft wire. Okay. Again, it doesn't, I found that it just doesn't show up very well on the video. Alright, I have a warp of threads. This is just DMC floss that I removed the ends and used about 2 yards, okay, and just warped them together. So took off the little sleeves there, labels, find the 2 ends, measure out about 2 yards, and then just go back and forth. And that makes your ruff, or I'm sorry, your warp, which looks like, oops, this right here. Okay, again, the process is the same exact process as making the skirt with just a couple of changes. One being that we're using a rod or a knitting needle, and the other one I'll explain in a minute. Okay, we're going to fold the wire in half. Give it a twist. You don't have to use this twist if you know you're going to be gluing the ruff onto the form. But if you want it to be removable, then you want to make sure you have that loop, because we're not going to glue it. We're just going to bring it around the tassel form and link it. Okay, then I'm going to put the warp in between the wires. I'm going to call them wires from now on. It's still just one wire folded in half. I'm going to twist and make sure that that warp is secure. I'm going to hold the warp off to the left and these wires off to the right, and the wires off to the left. Insert the knitting needle in between the wires. So now you have one in the front and one in the back. One in the front, one in the back. You're going to always want to keep the wires off to the left and warp off to the right. Okay, so here's the other difference from the skirt, is we're going to take the warp, and as we bring it to the front, we're going to give it a twist and then back to the back. So it's the same idea as the skirt, but you want to give it a twist. See how it's got that twist? Alright, now we're going to take the wire in the back, bring it over the top to the front, and the front wire over the top to the back. Okay? So over the top with the warp, twist, bring to the back and hold. It's very hard to see because my fingers have to hold everything. Back wire over the top of the rod to the front, front wire to the back, and then off to the left. Warp over the top, twist, up to the back. Back wire comes over the top of the needle to the front, front wire over the top to the back. The cool thing about videos is you can always play it again. Play it as many times as you need to. When I first started teaching this, videos weren't that practical. We had these great big video cameras, kind of the size of a small duffel bag, and you wouldn't post them on the internet because by the time you downloaded it, your internet would have crashed. but now it's just real easy. Okay, warp over the top, bring it around to the back and twist, back wire over the top to the front, front wire over the top to the back. Now don't let this twist, this rod, because if it does, pretty soon you've got, you think this wire's a back and this wire's a front, and you got this and this. These wires should always be right on the top. See that? See the motion? Okay, again, you would never use a wire this thick, really, because you want to use something, because you don't want the wire to show. The wire is just incidental. It's just the tool that we have to keep it together. Okay, warp over the top, bring to the back, back wire over the top to the front, front wire to the back. Make sure you got that nice little sneaky looking thing. Looks like a stem stitch for you stitchers. Okay, I'm back, and here's what we have so far. I'll show you up close. I noticed on the last video that I said look, and it was way up here. So sorry about this. This is what it's supposed to look like. Okay, see that across the top? All that wire is across the top of the needle. Okay, so I'm just about finished. Remember, it was the warp over the top, twist up to the back, back wire to the front, front wire to the back, over the top of the needle. You'll get good at this, and it'll be like knitting. Most of us who have been knitting a long time, I've been knitting since I was 18, can pretty much fly with a set of knitting needles. So this becomes kind of the same thing. Once you have the motion, it's easy, easy, easy. You can make these in no time at all. Okay, so now I'll get one more in here. I'm at the end, all right? And I'm just going to take my wires, bring them up to the top of the needle. Okay, I'm going to twist them. Sometimes it's easier to actually twist the rod itself. And I'm just going to pull it off, and there we go. There is the ruff. Okay. Again, I wouldn't use this wire, not this gauge anyway. There's nothing wrong with the wire. It's just that it's too thick for this purpose. All right, and in the final video of the series, we put this whole thing together. Fun, fun.